At my age, see, I've been all over the world. I've been helping. I've had, I don't know, I stopped counting how many mentees in business and in life, in my fraternity, in the Kappa League, at my college. I sat on the pulpit at churches. I built churches next to the bishop. Hope, uh, helping our people excel was Hope for Life Foundation, COO. I've been in and out. All that you talk about, I know what you say. This has come to my. This is what I've come to realize. Wow, you can show somebody. You can give them the blueprint. You can give them the answers to the test, Trev, and say, here's the Scantron. I've already put a tick in all the answers. You just got to color it in with a number 2 pencil, and they'll still pick the wrong answer. And so some people you have to leave behind. And I know how you feel. It's like, no, I don't want to leave behind. I can help you. They don't want to be. A lot of people do not want to be helped. Dr. Julio said they don't.
I'm not talking about everybody, and I understand
the energy to do it. And I know when your back start hurting, you get a little older, and you're gonna be like, God damn! And you look back and you say, well, what happened to you? Oh, Shan, it's all good, man. Let me hold $20. It's like, what?
But at the same time, I've seen there's been a lot of people who were going in the wrong direction. The youth that I've been able to help turn around. I'm talking about bringing up credit scores. I'm talking about looking for better jobs. I'm talking about advancing in life, learning how to deal with relationships.
Yeah, but they had
it didn't look like it. It didn't look like it. But it's not. But I didn't give up on them.
If they had the innate desire to want to do, there's an internal fire that always. And see, this is the thing. I'm assuming everybody on the panel is familiar with Dr. Jordan Peterson. So there's an interesting thing that in his book 12 Rules for Life. He talks about this segment of his book on a podcast, and he basically says, if you're a man, get the hell up, change your life, and make up your bed, clean up your room, because the world will not come to save you. And women look for men that they can admire. And so the thing of it is, we have to always understand, well, like it or not, we're in a competition. If you're a man, you're in competition, and you can only assist others that want to be assisted on your team. And I think a lot of times what we see with just us as a society in general, many of us are just excessively competitive. Let's just take for a brief example. Kevin Samuels tried to get men in line for what Shannon, what was it? 2 out of 3 years. And what did they do? They gave him hell. All he was trying to do was men gave this brother hell. Pushback every time. And as they're doing this, he's just saying, he's saying the same thing, clean up the room. Hated the man for 3 out of the 5 years that he became, was really, really heavily on YouTube. And the rhetoric and some of the stuff that he said, while it was trying to get everybody in line, his message wasn't received. That's something real interesting about black folk. Messages, especially from men to men or men to communities that are really helpful, are never received until after the person has left us. Y'all ever really noticed that? Like, if y'all ever really sat down and like really thought about that for just, any length of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, Trey, nothing you saying is off by any stretch of the imagination. You're right. We should try to help everybody. But the sad reality is it is impossible to do so because some people prefer ignorance to information. Some people prefer just they prefer ego to education. It's that simple.
I agree with what you're saying. I don't want
anybody to get it twisted. I don't want anybody to get it twisted and think that I'm saying you got to help everybody. But everybody who wants it, you got to do it. And the youth, I can't ignore that. And that's my main focus is the youth, right? We talking about the children. Grown people, it is what it is. But children, they are able to be influenced. And if they have somebody in person that can show them and give them details, some context, it's going to be a lot different than whatever Glorilla or any of these other fools could put on the screen.
But it should be to the detriment of yourself. And that's the most important. It should be to the detriment of yourself, where you're trying to help somebody where, you spray yourself thin, where it could cost you a relationship with your significant other. That's never not worth it. So to me, I believe in the men helping the men, or the men helping the boys, and the women helping the girls. I don't believe in crossing paths. I think the elder women should be talking to the women and letting them know the game. Like me as a man, I need to be letting these young bloods know at the game. It shouldn't be me as a man telling the girl no, because eventually these young girls gonna grow up to be women. So they need to have the sample and an example of what they need to be or should be as women.
Go ahead, Cloud.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of two things being true at once, right? Like I feel what Trev is saying. Like people like Glorilla are in a position of power, then a position of influence and authority, and so they have a great impact on what the next generation of people are going to be like. So I feel like there's extreme merit in what Trev is saying. However, I agree with what Austin and Shannon was saying. And I think the Bible sums it up best. And I don't mean to get like religious because I'm not even super religious, but I like the Bible because I feel like there's certain things that are just clear wisdom in it, right? And the Bible says you can't cast your pearls before swine, right? And at the end of the day, everyone's not going to be able to understand the value of pearls, you know, or jewels. When we give people knowledge and information, we call it dropping jewels or dropping gems for a reason, right? And everybody's not, some people when they pick up a rock, they just see a rock. And some people when they pick up that rock, they see a ruby, a sapphire, an onyx, a gem, a topaz. Like they can identify what that rock is, and they're willing to do the work necessary to polish it, cut it, and do whatever it takes to get there. And that's just the unfortunate reality that we exist in, contrary to like what Trev is saying, which I feel him 100%. But unfortunately, as much as we can try to say, hey, don't focus on Glorilla, people are still going to do it. And at the same time, one could make the argument that her presence and her information and her being out there is a great thing, because there might be some girls who watch that and say, I don't want to be like that. And it might give them an even more clear example of what not to be like. So to Shannon's point, I think that apparent like these women can actually help to create a clear line in the sand, so that we can actually decide, okay, so that's what the hoes look like, and that's what the wives look like.
What?
And it might sound crazy, but there's always going to be hoes and wives. Like we might not like the truth in it, but there's a use in society for hoes and there's a use in society for wives. And I feel like what's more important is being able to find the clear separation so that we can find what we're looking for in life. You know, if you want to be out there in the streets, I think you should be going to the hoes, and don't mess up the all these women that are out here looking for relationships. You know, don't ruin their heart and break their heart because you out here trying to run the street. You should be able to identify who the ladies of the street are and go find them for your business. And if you're looking for a wife, you should be able to have a clear definition of what that is, so you can go find that and you don't get your heart broken by these hoes. You know what I mean? And I feel like as long as we can identify everything clearly, I feel like that makes a difference. We live in a society now where nobody wants to put labels on things. And I actually think putting labels on things gives us a clear way to interact with it. You know exactly what it is because you can define it. So I just feel like we need to get back to making a clear definition, and that way we know what we're dealing with, we know how to adjust to it, and then we can move forward from there.
All right. You mad done? Let me start the video. You want to chime in on this one or get on next topic? You're on mute, just so you know.
Appreciate it. What's going on, guys? No, I didn't see the video, but I'm pretty sure, like, when it comes to Glorilla and her music, I'm pretty familiar with how she moves and what she says. But I'll say this real quick. I didn't see the clip, but there's a quote that she has in one of her songs called Lick or Something. And towards the end, yeah, it's basically a remake of the 3 6 Mafia song. Yeah, so she just kind of flipped it for the females dynamic. Anyway, towards the end of the song, the quote is, if you loving on this nigga and he loving on the hoes, my advice to you, bitch, is gonna be a hoe. And she says it multiple times towards the end of the song. Like, if you loving on this nigga and he loving on the hoes, my advice to you, bitch, gonna be a hoe.
You can't expect me to take you seriously.
Like, I mean, how problematic is that? Just alone. I mean, you're literally, and we gotta remember now, you're literally telling the youth, go and be a hoe, do all the things, be outside, show your coochie, show your boobs, be naked, do whatever you feel like doing at any given moment, any given time. Now, granted, I love what Clout was saying a minute ago. There's always been hoes in our society, forever. There's always been hoes. There's always been wives. It's always been there. But the issue is this behavior and these messaging is not affecting the grown women out here who are trying to be wives. They're affecting the teenagers. The audience are the young girls, the preteens, the teenagers who don't know better. That's the problem. And they're the minds that are soaking up everything like sponges. And if you've got someone who's, hot right now, in the airways, popular, popping, the songs are constantly on repeat. I mean, all it really is mind control. All it is just, it's just messaging over and over and over again. And if you keep hearing it over and over and over again, you're going to start doing the behaviors that you see every day, that you hear every day. You don't have to know Glorilla to know the type of things that she does. If you see it all the time, you see the videos, you see what's on MTV, BET, you see what's on YouTube, you hear it on the airwaves all the time, you go to the shows, you know what's going on. So it's our youth that they're after. I think I might have said this in another show, that Cardi B already said she won't let her daughter Culture listen to any of her music or watch any of her videos. Young Miami already said when she does have a daughter, she can't be a city girl and she cannot watch or consume any of her content.